You open the envelope and your stomach drops. The IRS says you owe $23,000 in back taxes. Maybe it's from a bad year, a missed form, a freelance gig that got away from you. The number feels impossible, so you do what anyone does. You Google it. Within minutes, an ad promises to settle your debt for pennies on the dollar. A licensed firm, a phone number, a lifeline you call. Here is what actually happened to thousands of people who made that same call. In January 2024, the FTC and Nevada Attorney General Aaron D. Ford announced a $10 million settlement and lifetime industry bans against tax relief operators including Ideal Tax and its affiliates. The charge, collecting thousands in upfront fees while resolving fewer than 1 in 10 client cases. 1 in 10, the IRS's own offering compromise program. The program these firms sell accepts 33% of applications, according to the 2023 National Taxpayer Advocate Annual Report to Congress. These companies weren't even hitting a third of the government's already selective rate. And here is the part that should make you angry. The IRS publishes a free tool called the OIC Prequalifier. It takes 10 minutes. It would have told most of those clients they didn't qualify before they handed over a single dollar. The average fee these firms charged? Between $3,000 and $7,000 upfront. The IRS application fee? $205, waived entirely if your income is low enough. This isn't one rogue company. The FTC called tax relief scams particularly insidious because they target people who are already in financial distress. This is a $2 billion industry built on that distress. The real question isn't how one firm got caught. It's how an entire licensed legal industry built its business model on a government program it knew most clients would never qualify for. And why it took regulators years to move while 14 million Americans kept paying. Here is what the IRS actually built. The offering compromise program is real. It dates back decades. The IRS designed it for one specific situation. When a taxpayer genuinely cannot pay what they owe. Not because they are disorganized, but because full repayment is mathematically impossible given their income and assets. To qualify, the IRS runs a formula. They look at what you earned, what you own, and what you could realistically pay over the next few years. That number is called your reasonable collection potential. If your tax debt exceeds that number by enough, you may qualify to settle for less. The application is Form 656. The filing fee is $205. For low-income taxpayers, the IRS waives even that. And here is the part the radio ads never mention. The IRS publishes a free online tool, the OIC Prequalifier, that walks any taxpayer through the exact eligibility calculation before they file a single piece of paper. No accountant, no middleman, free. According to the IRS's own 2023 data book, 36,038 offers were submitted that year. Only 13,176 were accepted. That is a 36% acceptance rate on submitted offers. Nearly 2 in 3 applications fail. That gap is the product. The tax relief industry sells the sound of the program. Settle for less without disclosing those odds. The National Taxpayer Advocate's 2023 Annual Report to Congress noted that most rejected applicants simply did not meet the income and asset thresholds to begin with. The IRS's free tool would have told them that before they signed anything. Who exactly is collecting thousands of dollars to walk someone through a process the IRS already made free? And what happens to that money when the case fails? Here is what the FTC's complaint against Ideal Tax Solution, LLC actually says. In plain numbers, the company, incorporated in Nevada, Charged clients between $2, $500 and $7. $500 upfront, not contingent on results. Not refundable if nothing worked. Paid the day you signed. Then the company spent heavily to find you. Radio ads, digital leads, targeted campaigns aimed at people who had already searched IRS debt help in a moment of panic. According to IBIS World's 2023 analysis of the $3.2 billion tax services industry, customer acquisition costs can exceed $1.500 per client. That math is the whole business. The FTC's complaint documented that Ideal Tax resolved fewer than 10% of enrolled client cases. Fewer than 1 in 10. The other 9 paid in full and got nothing close to what was promised. The FTC's 2023 enforcement data put the total consumer harm from tax relief fraud complaints that year above $175 million. That is not one company. That is an industry running the same model at scale. Samuel Levine, director of the FTC's Bureau of Consumer Protection, oversaw the enforcement action. Nevada Attorney General Aaron D. Ford co-filed 2 agencies, 1 coordinated complaint. That combination rarely happens unless the documented evidence is overwhelming. A desperate person hears a radio ad. The person calls, the person pays $5,000, company collects, company does little. Company keeps the fee. Resolution rates are irrelevant to this business model. The money was already in the account before anyone opened a single IRS file. The FTC's broader complaint data shows this pattern across dozens of firms. Not just one, Ideal Tax is the named defendant. The industry structure is the actual defendant. If the math was always this visible, what took enforcement so long to move? Here is the part that should stop you cold. Between 2020 and 2024, the FTC increased its enforcement actions against tax relief companies by 340%. More investigations, more settlements, more press releases with dollar amounts and lifetime bans. And yet, according to IBIS World's industry data, the tax preparation and relief services market grew from $2.8 billion to $3.2 billion over that exact same period. Enforcement and growth running in parallel. At the same time. That is not a coincidence. That is a supply chain. The supply is desperation. The IRS's 2023 data book recorded 11.5 million taxpayers in active collection status. People with open balances, active liens, or pending garnishments, that is 11.5 million households with an envelope problem. After COVID-era collection pauses ended in 2022, millions of debtors who had been temporarily shielded suddenly re-entered the system all at once. A fresh wave, high fear, low information. The industry was ready. Call centers don't slow down when regulators file complaints. They retool new company names. New websites, same pitch. The FTC's own 2023 Consumer Sentinel data found that tax relief fraud was the fastest growing subcategory of financial fraud by reported dollar amount. It grew faster than crypto scams among Americans aged 50 and older. That demographic specifically. Samuel Levine, director of the FTC's Bureau of Consumer Protection, has made the targeting pattern explicit in agency communications. The people most likely to call a tax relief company are the people least likely to know the IRS already built a free alternative. The OIC pre-qualifier tool costs nothing. The $205 application fee is waived entirely for low-income filers. The industry's customer acquisition cost can exceed $1,500 per client. That number explains everything. When you spend $1,500 to acquire someone, you need to charge $3,000 minimum just to survive. The fee structure isn't greed layered on top of a service. The fee structure is the service. Which means the question for the next chapter is simple and uncomfortable. If the IRS already offers the help for free and has for years, why do 5 million people still not know it exists? That IRS notice is still on the table. The amount hasn't changed, but what has changed is what you know now. You know the offering compromise program is real. You know the acceptance rate sits around 33%. According to the National Taxpayer Advocate's 2023 report to Congress. And you know a private firm charging you $5,000 upfront to file that paperwork is not a shortcut. It is a gamble, and the odds are stacked against you before you sign anything. Here is what to do instead. Go to IRS.gov and run the OIC pre-qualifier tool yourself. It costs nothing, it takes about 10 minutes. It will tell you before you spend $1 whether you are likely to qualify. Most people who call a tax relief hotline never take this step. Second, if you still want professional help, verify them. The IRS maintains a public directory of registered tax practitioners, enrolled agents, CPA, and tax attorneys with verifiable credentials. A legitimate professional will be listed. If the company you are considering is not, that is your answer. Third, search the company's name in the FTC's Consumer Sentinel Complaint Database. It is public, it is searchable. Ideal Tax Solution was not the first company in that database, and it will not be the last. If you genuinely cannot afford representation, low-income taxpayer clinics exist in nearly every state. Federally funded, fees capped at $25 per hour, or free if you qualify. And if you need a payment plan, the IRS will set one up directly through IRS.gov. No middleman, no upfront fee measured in thousands of dollars. The industry that collected $10 million from people in financial distress survived this long because most of its customers never knew those options existed. Now you do. The IRS notice on your kitchen table is a real problem. A $5,000 fee to a company that delivers nothing is a second one you can avoid entirely. Subscribe for new breakdown like this every day.